Life can be a beautiful journey, but it is also filled with challenges and hard truths that we must confront if we are to truly grow. These truths, while difficult, are not meant to discourage us, but to awaken us to the deeper realities of our existence. Embrace them with an open heart, for in these lessons lies the wisdom we need to navigate life with greater awareness and strength. The first truth you must come to terms with is that life is not fair. No matter how hard we work, how kind we are, or how much we deserve something, life does not always give us what we think we are owed. Some people will have advantages that we do not, and some situations will not turn out the way we hoped. It is a painful truth, but it is one that frees us from the illusion of fairness. Once we let go of the need for life to be fair, we empower ourselves to take action, to focus on what we can control, and to stop blaming others or circumstances for our challenges. Life becomes what we make of it, regardless of the conditions around us. The second truth is that people will disappoint you. It is easy to place our expectations on others and hope they will fulfill them, but the reality is that people are imperfect. They will let us down, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unknowingly. This can be a harsh realization, but it teaches us to manage our expectations and not tie our happiness to the behavior of others. When we release the need for validation from the people around us, we can begin to find the strength and peace that lies within ourselves. Life, as we experience it, rarely follows a predictable or fair path. For many, this is a tough pill to swallow. We grow up with expectations that if we work hard enough, treat people well enough, or strive for goodness, things will somehow align in our favor. But reality has a different way of revealing itself to us. Things don't always work out the way we expect, and the world doesn't offer equal treatment to everyone. This is a harsh truth that many resist, but it's essential to embrace if we want to live freely. The idea of fairness suggests that everyone should receive equal opportunities, rewards, or consequences based on their efforts or choices. However, life doesn't always operate within that framework. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to people who may not deserve them. This imbalance is not necessarily a reflection of the person or their worth, but rather a reminder of how unpredictable life can be. It's not always the person who works the hardest who wins the prize, nor is it always the most virtuous who avoids hardship. Life in its essence has its own set of rules. Rules we don't always understand, nor can we control. What this truth teaches us, however, is the importance of how we respond to unfairness. It is easy to feel disillusioned or bitter when things don't go our way. When we feel that the universe has dealt us an unfair hand, we may even wonder why we continue to put in effort or to try when it feels like others are skating by without facing the same struggles. It's a natural reaction to feel frustrated, but allowing that frustration to fester can keep us stuck in negativity, robbing us of the potential to move forward. It's crucial to recognize that when life doesn't seem fair, it is not an attack on who we are, but rather a moment for growth. The key is to shift our mindset from victimhood to empowerment. Instead of letting life's unfairness define us, we have the ability to choose how we react. When faced with challenges that seem unjust, we can either let those challenges break us or allow them to make us stronger. Every hardship, every moment of perceived unfairness holds within it the potential for growth, wisdom, and resilience. The question is whether we choose to see it as an opportunity to evolve or as a roadblock that stops us in our tracks. This shift in perspective does not mean we should ignore or accept injustices when they occur. Instead, it means we must take responsibility for our responses to them. When life feels unfair, it's natural to feel pain, disappointment, or anger. These emotions are valid and human, but they become destructive when we allow them to control us. The challenge is to feel those emotions without letting them dictate our next steps. The unfairness of life is a given, but how we allow it to shape us is up to us. We always have the power to decide how we move forward. Moreover, acknowledging that life isn't fair can free us from unrealistic expectations. When we stop waiting for life to align perfectly, we begin to see the beauty in imperfection. We learn to appreciate the moments that do bring joy, and we become more resilient in the face of adversity. When we stop measuring our worth or success against an imagined standard of fairness, we free ourselves to experience life as it is, messy, unpredictable, and full of surprises. This recognition also allows us to embrace empathy. When we understand that everyone faces their own struggles, many of which may seem unfair to them, we can approach others with more compassion. We no longer see their challenges as their fault, and we stop comparing our journeys to theirs. Instead, we recognize that we are all walking through this world with our own unique set of circumstances, and we all carry the weight of life's unpredictability in different ways. Ultimately, embracing the unfairness of life teaches us the power of acceptance. Life may not always be fair, but it is still a beautiful journey full of opportunities for growth. When we let go of our expectations for fairness and accept life as it comes, we step into a place of peace and resilience. It is not the absence of difficulty that brings us peace, but our ability to move through it with grace and strength. So when life feels unfair, remember that it is not a reflection of your worth or effort. It is simply the nature of the world we live in. The true power lies in how we choose to respond to that unfairness and what we decide to learn from it. People will disappoint you. It's a hard truth to face, especially when we invest our time, energy, and trust into relationships. We want to believe that the people we love, admire, or rely on will always be there for us, that they will act in ways that support our values and meet our expectations. But the reality is that people, no matter how close they are to us, will disappoint us in one way or another. This disappointment comes in many forms. Sometimes it's small, a misunderstanding or a mispromise that stings for a moment but is quickly forgotten. Other times it's more significant, a betrayal, a breach of trust, or an act that leaves us feeling hurt and abandoned. No matter the scale, the fact remains people will let us down. It's part of being human. We are imperfect and we all fall short of the expectations we set for ourselves and for others. One of the reasons this truth is so difficult to accept is because of our tendency to place people on pedestals. We look up to them, we depend on them, and we expect them to meet our emotional needs. Whether it's a partner, a friend, a family member, or even a mentor, we give them a certain level of power over how we feel and how we experience the world. But when they inevitably disappoint us, it can feel like a betrayal, not just of our trust, but of our beliefs about them and ourselves. However, disappointment is not always a reflection of the other person's shortcomings. Sometimes it's a reflection of our own expectations. We often expect people to act in ways that align with our needs, desires, or ideals. We assume they will understand us without needing to be told, that they will always be there when we need them, or that their love and support will never falter. But people are not mind readers. They have their own struggles, limitations, and ways of seeing the world. They may not always be capable of giving us exactly what we need or expect, no matter how much we want it or how deeply we believe they should. This truth forces us to shift our perspective. Instead of holding on to unrealistic expectations, we can begin to accept people for who they are, not who we want them to be. When we stop expecting perfection from others, we open the door to more realistic, compassionate, and ultimately more fulfilling relationships. We begin to see people as they truly are with their flaws and limitations, and we realize that their imperfections are part of what makes them human. At the same time, it's important to recognize that disappointment doesn't mean we should discard the relationship entirely. It's natural to feel hurt when someone we care about falls short, but it's also an opportunity for growth and understanding. People can change, they can grow, and so can we. Instead of shutting down or walking away when we feel disappointed, we can use these moments to open up more deeply, to communicate our needs, set healthier boundaries, and learn to forgive. Forgiveness in this sense is not just about letting the other person off the hook. It's about freeing ourselves from the grip of bitterness and resentment. It's also worth noting that sometimes disappointment can be a catalyst for self-discovery. When we are let down by someone else, it can shine a light on our own needs, desires, and patterns of behavior. It's an invitation to examine why we feel disappointed, to understand what we truly expect from others, and to reflect on whether those expectations are realistic or fair. In this way, disappointment can be an opportunity for us to refine our own sense of self-worth, and our capacity for compassion. Additionally, learning to cope with disappointment teaches us resilience. We learn that we are capable of handling the inevitable ups and downs of life without crumbling. We realize that our happiness is not dependent on the actions of others, but on how we choose to respond. People will disappoint us, but we have the power to decide whether we let those moments define our relationships or whether we choose to move forward with grace and understanding. Ultimately, the harsh truth that people will disappoint us is not meant to make us cynical or mistrusting of others. It's an invitation to release our unrealistic expectations and embrace the complexity of human relationships. It encourages us to recognize that everyone, including ourselves, is a work in progress. When we accept that people will disappoint us, we create space for deeper compassion, healthier boundaries, and more meaningful connections. So, when someone lets you down, remember that disappointment is part of the journey. It doesn't mean the end of the relationship or the end of your happiness. It's simply another step in the process of learning, growing, and understanding both others and ourselves. You will fail. It's a simple yet profound truth that many of us struggle to accept. Failure is often seen as something to avoid, something to be feared or ashamed of. We are conditioned to view failure as the opposite of success, as something that diminishes our value or worth. But the truth is that failure is not a reflection of our inability or incompetence. It is an essential part of the journey to success and self-discovery. Everyone fails. The key lies not in whether or not we fail, but in how we handle failure and what we learn from it. We live in a world that often celebrates achievement, success, and perfection. We see images of people who have made it, who seem to glide effortlessly from one accomplishment to the next. The pressure to succeed, to avoid failure at all costs, can be overwhelming. But in reality, failure is not only inevitable, it's also necessary. Without failure, there is no growth. Without failure, there is no true learning. It is through our failures that we gain the insight, skills, and resilience that propel us forward. Failure is not the end of the road. It is simply a detour, a moment of pause that asks us to reflect, reassess, and adapt. When we fail, we are faced with the opportunity to re-examine our approach, to identify what went wrong, and to figure out what needs to change. This process of reflection is crucial because it helps us develop a deeper understanding of ourselves, our goals, and the strategies we need to succeed. It is through failure that we are forced to grow, to stretch beyond our comfort zones, and to push ourselves to new heights. One of the most valuable lessons failure teaches us is resilience. It's easy to feel defeated when things don't go as planned, to question our abilities or our worth. But it's in these moments of failure that we learn how to rise again. We realize that failure does not define us. It is simply an event, a temporary setback. We are more than our failures. The key is to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and continue moving forward. Every time we get back up after falling, we become stronger, more determined, and more capable of facing whatever challenges lie ahead. The fear of failure often holds us back from pursuing our dreams, from taking risks, or from trying new things. We become paralyzed by the possibility of not succeeding, and as a result, we may not even try. But the truth is, by avoiding failure, we also avoid growth. Failure is the fertile soil in which innovation and progress are planted. Every major breakthrough, every great achievement has been preceded by multiple failures. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he successfully invented the light bulb. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, yet he went on to become one of the greatest players of all time. Failure is not a roadblock, it is simply a stepping stone on the path to success. It is important to recognize that failure is not something to be ashamed of. We all fail. It's a part of the human experience. The most successful people are often those who have failed the most, not because they are any more talented or gifted than others, but because they have learned to embrace failure as a necessary part of the process. They have learned to fail forward, to use failure as a lesson, a tool for improvement, and a source of motivation. When we change our perspective on failure, we begin to see it not as a punishment, but as a gift that helps us refine our goals and sharpen our skills. One of the most powerful things we can do is to shift our focus from the fear of failure to the opportunity within failure. Instead of avoiding failure, we can learn to embrace it. This doesn't mean that we should seek out failure for the sake of it, but rather that we should approach our goals with the understanding that failure is a possibility, and that's okay. In fact, failure is often the best teacher we'll ever have. It forces us to confront our weaknesses, challenge our assumptions, and reconsider our strategies. It is the ultimate feedback system, giving us the information we need to improve. Learning to fail with grace is an important life skill. We will inevitably face challenges, setbacks, and disappointments along the way, but it's our response to these moments that determines our success. When we accept failure as a natural part of life, we free ourselves from the paralyzing fear of it. We allow ourselves to take risks, to make mistakes, and to grow through those experiences. Failure then becomes not something to avoid, but something to embrace, an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to keep moving forward. So yes, you will fail, and that is not only okay, it is essential. Embrace failure as a teacher, as a guide, and as a necessary part of your journey. It is not the failures themselves that define us, but how we respond to them, how we rise, how we learn, and how we keep moving forward. These are the things that truly matter. Failure is not the end of the road. It is simply a step in the process. It is in failing that we find the strength to succeed. You are responsible for your own happiness. This may sound simple, but it is in fact one of the most powerful and often misunderstood truths in life. We live in a world that constantly tells us that happiness is something external, something that can be found in material possessions, relationships, achievements, or the approval of others. We are taught to chase after things and circumstances in the hopes that they will bring us the happiness we seek. But the harsh truth is that happiness cannot be found in external sources alone. It is an inside job, and it is up to each one of us to claim it. For much of our lives, we are conditioned to believe that our happiness depends on things outside of ourselves. We think, if I just get that promotion, I'll be happy. Or, if I find the perfect partner, my life will be complete. We place our happiness in the hands of others, in the future, or in external circumstances, hoping that the right conditions will align. But the problem with this thinking is that it gives away our power. If we rely on external factors to define our happiness, we place ourselves at the mercy of things we cannot control. People will let us down, circumstances will change, and life will throw us unexpected challenges. If we base our happiness on these things, we will always be on a roller coaster, forever chasing something that is elusive and fleeting. True happiness comes from within. It is not something that can be handed to you, nor is it something you can acquire or achieve. It is a state of being that is cultivated through your thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes. The key to understanding this truth is recognizing that happiness is a choice. It is not something that happens to us. It is something we create. We may not be able to control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond to those events. We can choose to find peace in the midst of chaos, to cultivate gratitude in the face of challenges, and to focus on the positive aspects of our lives, even when things are difficult. Taking responsibility for your own happiness means that you stop waiting for others or for circumstances to change in order to feel good. It means recognizing that your thoughts and beliefs shape your reality. If you believe that happiness is something that is dependent on the actions of others or on the attainment of a specific goal, then you are giving away your personal power. But if you choose to take responsibility for your own happiness, you realize that it is within your control to create a fulfilling and joyful life. It may not always be easy, and it certainly won't always feel perfect, but it is always possible. One of the most empowering aspects of this truth is that when you take responsibility for your own happiness, you free yourself from the need for external validation. You stop seeking approval from others or measuring your worth by their standards. Instead, you begin to recognize that your happiness is not dependent on anyone else's opinion of you. You become less affected by what others think and more focused on what brings you true joy and fulfillment. This shift in perspective allows you to live more authentically. to make choices that align with your values and desires, rather than trying to meet the expectations of others. Taking responsibility for your own happiness also means letting go of the idea that life owes you something. Too often we fall into the trap of thinking that happiness should come easily, or that it's something we deserve simply because we exist. But life doesn't owe us happiness. We must choose it. This means that we must stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect partner, or the perfect job to bring us joy. We must recognize that happiness is not found in a destination, but in the way we choose to engage with each moment of our lives. It is a mindset, not a set of circumstances. This doesn't mean that challenges, setbacks, or disappointments won't occur. Life has its ups and downs, and it's perfectly normal to experience sadness, frustration, or pain. But even in those moments, we have the power to choose how we respond. We can choose to see each difficulty as an opportunity for growth, to find gratitude even in difficult times, and to hold on to the knowledge that our happiness is still within our control. We cannot avoid the difficulties of life, but we can choose to meet them with a sense of inner peace and resilience. Ultimately, taking responsibility for your own happiness is about shifting your focus inward. It's about realizing that you have the power to create the life you want, no matter the circumstances. It's about choosing to take ownership of your feelings, your reactions, and your thoughts, and using them to create a life that brings you joy, fulfillment, and peace. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you cultivate from within. When you take full responsibility for it, you empower yourself to create a life that reflects your true desires and values. You have the ability to choose your happiness every day, no matter what the world throws at you. Your happiness is your responsibility, and it is always within your reach. Time is your most precious resource. It's something we all have in common, yet it is often the one thing we take for granted. We are constantly rushing through life, caught up in the demands of work, relationships, and responsibilities, as though time is endless. We tell ourselves, "I'll get to it tomorrow," or "there's always time later." But the truth is, time is finite. Once it passes, it's gone forever. And the way we choose to spend our time shapes the quality of our lives. The realization that time is your most valuable resource calls for a shift in perspective, a recognition of how precious each moment truly is. We often think that we have an infinite amount of time to achieve our dreams, pursue our passions, or simply enjoy life. But this is an illusion. Life doesn't come with a guarantee of more time. The present moment is all we have. Every second that ticks away is an opportunity that can never be reclaimed. This is a harsh reality, but it is one that holds great power. When we realize that time is limited, we are forced to become more intentional with how we use it. We begin to recognize that the choices we make today will have a lasting impact on our future. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we have all the time in the world. We wait for the right time to take action, to change, to pursue our passions. But waiting for the perfect moment often leads to wasted years, moments, and opportunities. Time doesn't wait for us. It moves forward whether we're ready or not. And by the time we realize that time has passed us by, it can feel as though we've missed our chance. This is why it's so important to act now, to start where you are with what you have. The future is never guaranteed, but the present moment is the one we can control. By taking ownership of our time and using it wisely, we take control of our lives. One of the greatest misconceptions about time is that we often mistake busyness for productivity. We fill our days with tasks, appointments, and obligations, thinking that we're making the most of our time. But the truth is that just being busy doesn't necessarily mean we are using our time effectively. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle, to be constantly doing without ever stopping to ask ourselves if we're actually moving toward what truly matters to us. Time spent on things that don't align with our core values or long-term goals is time that's lost. Instead of filling our days with meaningless distractions, we must become mindful of how we spend our time and make intentional choices that reflect our priorities. We also tend to put off the things that matter most. Whether it's taking care of our health, spending quality time with loved ones, or pursuing our passions, we tell ourselves there's always tomorrow, but the reality is that tomorrow is not promised. Waiting for the right time often means putting off what we truly desire or need. The longer we wait, the further we drift from what we want most. The truth is that the right time is now. We have to make the most of each day and take action, even if it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. Every moment is an opportunity to move closer to the life we want, and the longer we delay, the harder it becomes to take that first step. Time also forces us to confront our priorities. What we choose to spend our time on reflects what we value most. If we spend all our time at work, for example, we may find ourselves neglecting our relationships, our health, or our personal growth. If we focus all our energy on achieving success, we may miss out on the joy of simply being present in the moment. The truth is that time is a limited resource, and we cannot afford to squander it on things that don't align with our values. When we learn to prioritize the things that matter most to us, we begin to use our time in a way that truly enriches our lives. It's important to recognize that time is not just a commodity. It's a tool that we can use to create meaning in our lives. How we spend our time determines the quality of our experiences and the legacy we leave behind. When we choose to spend time with the people we love, engage in activities that bring us joy, and focus on personal growth, we create a life that is rich in meaning. On the other hand, when we waste time on things that don't serve us or hold us back, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to live fully. Understanding that time is your most precious resource forces us to become more present in each moment. It asks us to stop waiting for the perfect time and to start living the life we desire right now. It encourages us to take action, to make the most of every day, and to invest our time in the things that truly matter. Time is a gift, and when we treat it as such, we begin to create a life that is intentional, fulfilling, and aligned with our deepest values. So take a moment to reflect on how you are spending your time. Are you using it wisely, or are you letting it slip away without fully appreciating its value? Time is the most precious thing you have. Don't wait for it to run out before you realize its true worth. Use it consciously and invest it in what truly matters. No one has it all figured out. This is perhaps one of the most freeing and humbling truths about life. We often look at others and assume that they have their lives together, that they have all the answers, that they know exactly where they're going and how they're going to get there. We compare ourselves to others, measuring our progress against theirs, thinking that we're falling short or that we're the only ones who are struggling. But the truth is, everyone is figuring it out as they go along. Life is a journey of trial and error, and there's no manual that guarantees success or happiness. Everyone, regardless of how confident they may appear, is navigating the same uncertainty and unpredictability that we all face. We tend to glorify certain people, celebrities, influencers, successful entrepreneurs, as though they have discovered the secret to life, to fulfillment, or to happiness. We think that if we could just follow in their footsteps, if we could just do what they've done, we too could find the answers we're searching for. But even the most successful people don't have it all figured out. They too are making mistakes, learning from them, and adjusting course. No one has all the answers, because life is not a formula. It's a series of experiences that we each navigate in our own unique way. Some things will work, others won't. Some paths will lead us to the right places, others will take us down winding roads. But every step is part of the process. This doesn't mean that we shouldn't look up to others or learn from them. It's perfectly okay to seek advice or inspiration from people we admire, but it's important to remember that their journey is not the same as ours. Their choices, circumstances, and challenges are different. What works for one person may not work for another, and that's okay. The only way to truly figure out life is to walk your own path, make your own decisions, and learn from your own experiences. One of the reasons we struggle with the idea that no one has it all figured out is because we live in a world that often promotes the image of perfection. Social media, for example, is filled with carefully curated images of success, happiness, and achievement. People post their accomplishments, their travels, their families, and their perfect moments, leading us to believe that everyone else is living a flawless life. We compare ourselves to these idealized versions of others and feel inadequate in comparison. But behind those perfect pictures, behind the seemingly perfect lives, are the same challenges, doubts, and insecurities that we face every day. No one's life is perfect, and no one is immune to struggles, no matter how it may appear on the surface. The reality is that it's okay to not have it all figured out. It's okay to not have a clear vision of the future, to not know exactly what comes next. In fact, it's often in the uncertainty that we grow the most. When we embrace the unknown, when we stop trying to control every aspect of our lives, we open ourselves up to new possibilities and opportunities. It's in the moments of confusion, of not knowing, that we can discover who we truly are and what we truly want. Life doesn't need to be a perfectly mapped out journey. It's the twists, turns, and detours that make it interesting and worthwhile. One of the most liberating aspects of accepting that no one has it all figured out is that it allows us to be kinder to ourselves. We often hold ourselves to impossibly high standards, expecting ourselves to have everything figured out by a certain age or stage in life. We put pressure on ourselves to succeed, to know what we want, to make all the right decisions, and to have it all under control. But the truth is, this is an unrealistic expectation. Life is messy, and we are allowed to make mistakes, to change our minds, and to take detours. We are allowed to not know all the answers. The sooner we accept this, the sooner we can release the burden of perfectionism and move forward with more grace and compassion for ourselves. In fact, not having everything figured out can be a gift. It means we are open to learning, to growing, to evolving. We are not bound by rigid expectations of who we are supposed to be or what we are supposed to have accomplished by a certain point in time. Instead, we allow ourselves to explore, to try new things, to make mistakes, and to discover new passions, talents, and interests along the way. Life is about the journey, not the destination. The more we embrace the uncertainty, the more we allow ourselves to experience life fully without being held back by the fear of not having everything figured out. It's important to understand that the process of figuring things out never truly ends. We are all constantly evolving, changing, and growing. The questions we have today may be different from the questions we have tomorrow, and the answers we seek may shift as we gain more life experience. There is no final destination where everything is figured out and perfect. Instead, life is a continuous process of exploration, learning, and growth. And that's okay. We don't need to have it all figured out because life isn't about perfection. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs. So let go of the pressure to have everything figured out. Allow yourself the freedom to not know, to learn as you go, and to trust that you are on the right path, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Everyone is navigating the same uncertainty. You are not alone, and there is no one right way to figure things out. Embrace the journey, trust yourself, and know that with each step, you are exactly where you need to be. As we wrap up these truths about life, it's important to remember that we are all on this journey together, each of us navigating our own unique path. The struggles, the failures, the uncertainties, they are not signs that we are doing something wrong, but rather evidence that we are living, growing, and evolving. The harsh truths we've explored today are not meant to discourage you, but to empower you. Life is not perfect, and neither are we, but within our imperfections lies the opportunity for growth, resilience, and the ability to create a meaningful existence. Remember that you are responsible for your own happiness, and the time you have is a precious gift to be spent wisely. Embrace failure as a lesson, not a setback, and understand that no one, including you, has it all figured out. Life is a journey, not a destination, and each step, no matter how uncertain, brings you closer to who you are meant to become. So as you move forward, know that you are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. May you embrace each day with an open heart, a clear mind, and a willingness to learn and grow. Good luck on your journey ahead, and thank you for taking the time to reflect on these truths.